Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Pursuit of Knowledge here on Ramadan TV Scotland. The live Q&A show, inshallah, with you for the next hour until 6 p.m. Today's topic, inshallah, a very interesting topic. The topic is on zakah, on giving alms in the year. And inshallah, with me as always we have our guest. And just before I introduce our guest, remember that you can get in touch with us as well throughout the programme. It is a live show, so as I said, you can call us on 0141 280 8779. That's 0141 280 8779. As I said, today's topic is the topic of zakah. And with me today, alhamdulillah, I'm glad to say, is a very prominent Imam and scholar by the name of Sheikh Haytham Tamimi. He is the founder of the Utruj Foundation, which is an expert in Islamic sciences and is taught comparative jurisprudence. He holds the ijazah in some of the highest ijazah in Quran, Hadith, Fiqh, and also is a consultant in Islamic finance. Sheikh Haytham Tamimi is passionate about teaching and has delivered innumerable courses over the last 20 years. Selected as one of the most inspiring Muslims in 2019 by the Emerald Network, and a winner of the British Imams and Scholars Awards in 2015. He is currently the member of the British Board of Scholars and Imams and the leader of the Sunni Lebanese community under Darul Fatwa. He takes a keen interest in promoting love and tolerance within the Muslim community, as well as the wider society, and is an advocate for social justice. Often consulted by students for his wise and compassionate balanced stance in different views. And so I'd like, as I said, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Sheikh Haytham. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Haytham.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, good.
Our respected Imam and scholar to introduce the topic briefly for about 5-10 minutes, and then inshallah we'll go into questions. And as I said, you can give any questions on today's topic of zakah. 0141 280 8779 is a number to call. Without further ado, Sheikh Haytham, inshallah, bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thank you for the invitation first, and although we have long distance between London and Glasgow, but to refresh your memory, we have started our courses in Glasgow 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, now we have virtual meetings rather than the physical one. Today's topic is about zakah. It goes without saying that zakah is the third pillar of Islam, and it's a very important pillar. And when we read the Quran, in 32 occasions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned zakah. And in 8 occasions, He combined zakah with salah. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. Yes, or يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ. Or أَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةِ. So establish the salah and pay your zakah. In 8 occasions, Allah combined between iqam al-salah and ita' al-zakah as inseparable. Two pillars go together, hand in hand. And by reflecting on salah and zakah and the rest of the pillars, I realized that, subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ called salah in the hadith which been narrated in Sahih Muslim, as-salatu nur. So salah is a light. It gives you the light between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This vertical, which I prefer to call it the vertical dimension, is the connection one-to-one between us and Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is, there is no intermediary, there is no third party here. Even the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he is not involved. He delivered the message, we received it, but our relationship is straight with Allah Azza wa Jal in our salah. Zakah is a different dimension. The vertical one is between us and Allah. The horizontal dimension is zakah, because it goes to the community. And this is how we can see the two dimensions going together and working together. One to sustain you and give you spiritual support, and one which is financial support to the community. And the Prophet ﷺ called the salah in the very same hadith, as-sadaqatu burhan. He called it a proof. Sadaqah, which is the zakah here in the hadith, as-sadaqatu burhan. So these terms and terminologies are so important to understand and get into the spirit of the meaning. So the Prophet ﷺ is calling zakah as burhan. And burhan is the proof. A proof of what? It's a proof of your faith, of your iman. As we've seen, the very first thing that some Arab tribes rejected after the death of the Prophet ﷺ was zakah. They said, we pray, we'll do anything, but we won't pay zakah. Abu Bakr said, no, I cannot separate between zakah and salah. So it's so important. They are going together. It's the community. At the same time, it's the connectivity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are numerous hadith in the Sunnah about the importance of zakah and the encouragement for zakah. In fact, when you read the verses of the Quran about zakah, it's much more than the verses of salah. So, and again, I was reflecting on that. Why? The verses of zakah are more than the verses of siyam or the verses of salah, which been repeated many times. Because it's so difficult to give for many people. It's difficult to give. So Allah Azza wa Jal is encouraging people to give. And in the hadith, the holy hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ibn Adam, anfiq alayk, O son of Adam, spend and I will spend on you. I will guarantee for you your provision. So don't worry from spending. And in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned 7 categories on the Day of Judgment will have VIP treatment. What's that? Under the shade of the throne of Allah Azza wa Jalla. When the sun is very close to people, there is no barrier between them and the sun. Only 7 categories will get the VIP treatment, will have the shade of the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal. Among them, وَرَجُلٌ تَصَدَّقَ بِصَدَقَةٍ فَأَخْفَاهَا حَتَّى لَا تَعْلَمَ شِمَالُهُ مَا تُنْفِقُ يَمِينُهُ. A person who has given a charity, and here it's the zakah, secretly, until his left hand didn't know what his right hand is giving, he will get the shade of the throne on the Day of Judgment. Very special. And as well, in the other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, الْمَرْءُ فِي ظِلِّ صَدَقَتِهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. So the person will be under the shade of his sadaqah until the judgment will happen. So they will get this from their contribution, their zakah, which they pay. And Allah Azza wa Jal has promised the reward for those who are paying their zakah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, in a beautiful verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, has described the one who's paying a charity for Allah's sake, like one grain, which will produce 7 ears, and in each ear there are 100 grains. So it's multiplied. The reward of the charity is, and the zakah is multiplied to 700 to 70,000, and in Ramadan it's more extra as well. And this is why probably people prefer to pay the zakah in Ramadan. Probably we'll discuss this later. But it's not an exclusive thing for Ramadan. You can pay your zakah anytime. So Allah Azza wa Jal is in the divine system which He revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, is teaching us how to live and how to be the best And this goes through the pillars, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory on us. So starting from the salah, and then the zakah, and then the siyam. Siyam is a different dimension. It's something between you and Allah. No one knows. You might tell people, I'm fasting, and you are not. No one can see it. So it's something between you and Allah. So there's a link definitely between all these pillars together. One is about the heart, the salah usually. It's about the purification of the heart. It's about getting the spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and getting the focus. Zakah is a different thing. Zakah, it's treating the person who has issues in spending. Not everyone is very easy for him to spend. So it's an antidote against miserliness. Zakah is the antidote for that. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory to purify our nafs and from miserliness. And by the way, the name itself, zakah, it suggests the meaning in Arabic, which is purity. Zakah, tazkiyah, it's about purification. So it purifies oneself, it purifies the money, it brings barakah to you. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory to purify ourselves and to purify our money and to have this compassion towards others. And you are not self-centered person, me, I, and myself. No, you definitely have to look after others as well. And this is where the zakah comes into place.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Haitham. As we said, today's topic, as you can hear, is on the topic of zakat, and you can get involved with today's discussion. 0141 280 8779 is the number to call for any questions on this particular topic. After the introduction, Sheikh Haitham, just a couple of things in regards to, first of all, who's the people who are eligible to pay zakat? What's the criteria that fits someone that they have to give their annual zakat?
Of course, he has to be a Muslim first. He has to be a sane person, and he has to have nisab, which is the threshold. The threshold equivalent to 87 grams of gold, if we were to count it on the gold. 87 grams of gold. More likely it's about 3,800 something. Depends on how much is it on in the market. So the silver is 612 grams of silver, equivalent around 240 something pounds. And this is the threshold. So if somebody has in his account, cash in his account for 1 year, surplus, this money is not consumed by debts, it's not consumed by other means, it's sitting doing nothing in his account for 1 year, he has to pay 2.5% on that money, of course with many other things, but just the general view here.
Okay. And in regards to which part, as you kind of touched on it there, about what part of your wealth is due for zakat, what do you pay zakat on? I mean, you briefly mentioned, obviously, if it's money that you use, then obviously you don't pay zakat on that. But what else? What else is not zakat, not payable to zakat?
You pay zakat for any money you bought for investment. For instance, property for investment, you have shares, you have stock, you have other valuables. You put all of this together in one pot, which is the pot of zakah. Any valuable assets. Yes. Some of it, you might not have the intention for trade. Like you bought a house, but your intention is to live in that house. So you don't pay zakah on that house.
Likewise, the car or anything else that wouldn't be.
Of course, the car, and if you have a factory, You don't pay zakat on the equipments which you have and so on.
Yeah. Okay, and you mentioned the threshold, obviously, of gold and silver, but generally people, obviously, with cash, as you kind of said briefly, if you can explain that a little bit more, if someone has got money in their bank account of a certain amount, and what threshold should you use in terms of paying cash or paying zakat on cash?
It depends where he's coming from, but usually the gold is the common threshold.
Okay.
Yeah, the gold is the common threshold. But some people prefer the silver in order to help everyone to contribute.
Okay.
So you have £250 sitting in your account, you pay 2.5%.
Yeah. Okay.
It won't be that much. So you feel that, yeah, I'm paying my zakat, I'm fulfilling my obligation, although I deserve zakat, to be honest with you. That person who has £250 in his account, he's a poor person, he's not a wealthy person.
Yeah.
So the benchmark here, or the threshold, let me say, it used to be, since the revelation, it used to be a sign for wealth. So somebody who has this threshold, it means he's a wealthy person.
Yeah.
So now somebody has £250. Come on. It's not a sign of wealth.
Yeah.
Never at all.
Yeah.
Even 3,800 or 4,000 pounds.
Yeah.
It's not a sign of wealth.
Yeah.
Yes, but it used to be a sign of wealth. It used, and in some studies, it suggested that this money used to last for 1 year. £4,000 lasts for 1 year in this country. You must be joking.
No. Not at all, not at all. And as you kind of said there as well, does it have to be given in Ramadan? You said briefly it doesn't really have to, but people tend to give it during Ramadan, obviously for the extra blessing, I guess.
Of course, yeah, because Ramadan has extra blessings and extra reward and so on. So people, out of goodwill and increasing the reward, they prefer to pay it in Ramadan, which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that, and people want to multiply their reward. That's fine.
Okay. So I mean, it doesn't mean, for example, if they bought their gold in, I don't know, January, they have to pay the zakat in January. They can pay it till next Ramadan. That would be okay.
They have to pay the excess, which is between January and Ramadan, around 2-3 months, depends whether. So they pay extra 3 months.
Just a little bit extra. Okay.
Yeah.
Inshallah. And sometimes, I mean, zakat can equate to a large amount. Can someone pay that in installments rather than giving one lump sum of zakat? Can it be paid over a period of time, perhaps, to make it easier for people to, rather than making one large payment?
It is possible, yes. If this is what makes it easy for the person to pay his zakah or her zakah, then that's fine. Even there are some fatwas on monthly basis. You can pay your zakah on your salary. Okay. And the scholars said, on your salary, you have this salary this month and you pay 2.5% from your salary all year round. That's it. Your zakah is done.
Okay.
Of course, we need to do the calculation for the rest of your assets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only the cash which you have and the salary which you have, because you might have other valuable things and assets to add to the zakat pot.
Okay. And as you know, within our Muslim community, alhamdulillah, a lot of people have businesses, shops and things like this as well. I mean, how do they work out their zakat? As you said, is it on the property of the business? Is it on the stock of the business? What part is it, if it is zakatable, which part of that business is the part they pay zakat on?
Depends which business we are talking about.
Okay.
If you are talking about grocery, if you are talking about estate agent, if you are talking about property developer, depends which business.
Okay.
But nevertheless, every single business, it has a way to pay the zakat without that.
Okay. And say it's a news agent or a grocery shop, sells foods, Asian foods or other types of foods. It's a grocery shop. What would they be paying zakat on, for example?
The stock. the stock which he has, you see what's the value of the stock and you pay on that. Of course, bearing in mind, you have to deduct the loans which you have and the liabilities which you have, yes, and the immediate repayments which you have. You deduct all of this from the overall calculation, and then you pay zakah on what is available. Okay. And sometimes you might be under zero after you do all your calculations. Yes. So
in that case,
you pay zakah on that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then, as I said, you mentioned there about property. Now, obviously, sometimes within the community, again, people tend to have a number of properties that they rent out as their own business, family business, perhaps. Is, again, zakat due on the rent money, or is it due on the property itself?
It's the Asian business, yeah. They are into properties all the time, which is on the same side of investment. Usually, the property is the safe side of business and investment. Now, if he has a portfolio of properties, he has 2, 3, 4, whatever, and his intention is not to sell these properties. His intention is to live on the income, the rental income which he has. Then he pays on the rental income. The moment he changes his mind, his intention is crucial.
Okay.
So the moment he changes his intention or her intention to sell the properties, then he will pay on the properties, the value of the properties, and the rental income which he has, if it's above definitely the threshold after deduction of all the expenses and what have you.
Okay, so basically initially it would be on the rental money, but if the intention, as you said, is to sell property, then obviously it's on the property as well as the rental money.
Okay. Exactly.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much for that. And again, stocks and shares is a big question in regards to zakah. Because obviously with stocks and shares it fluctuates, it goes up and down. So how does that work when it comes to paying zakat? At what point do you pay that?
It's more complicated. The stocks and shares is more, but we have different opinions among the scholars and many details and debates and too much. But to summarize the story, if he bought these shares for long-term investment, or if he bought these shares to resell. So you have two different intentions.
Yeah. Okay.
So his business is about buying and selling shares. This is how he makes his money.
Sure.
Yes? So he pays on the market value of that shares.
Okay.
Yes? His intention is long term. He's not selling and buying. He's not making profit out of this. He's waiting for dividends.
Yeah.
Then it's a different story. The calculation goes through. You need to check the company's details and annual report and liabilities and assets and so on, and you pay on the zakatable parts of that, which is a bit detailed.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need somebody to take you through this in order to pay your zakah on that. And there are some good charities out there that you can go through the steps which they have on their websites. It will help you to pay your zakah properly on the shares which you bought for long-term investment.
Okay, thank you very much. And sometimes, we know there's a verse in Quran that refers to the different categories of people who are entitled to receive zakat. Amongst the poor and others, and the needy and the traveller and various other people. Sometimes we hear that Islamic organisations, Islamic centres, mosques, sometimes say that they're eligible to receiving zakat. Are they eligible to receive zakat at all, or is that something they have to be wary of?
again, it's one of the disagreed upon topics, and we have plenty of discussion and debates on that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned 8 categories in the Quran who are eligible for zakah, receiving the zakah. Where he said subhanahu wa ta'ala, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها وفي الرقاب والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. So the charities are for the poor, destitute, and those who administer them, and reconciling the hearts, and for freeing slaves, and for those who are in debt, and for the path of Allah, and the traveler who's in need. So these are the 8 categories which Allah mentioned. Now, how can we justify some mosques, some institutions, some other categories which is not under the 8 categories? How can we justify paying zakah for them?
Yeah.
The scholars under the discussion here, they said this falls under fi sabilillah. And fi sabilillah is very wide. So for the sake of Allah. Originally, fi sabilillah, it means funding the army. This was a category in essence, funding the army. This is what fi sabilillah was. So in reality, we don't have this. So this is why the scholars took the wider view on fi sabilillah. Anything which says for Allah's sake, especially for people who are in the West, their funds are limited, their resources are limited. So they have a bit stretched fi sabilillah's meaning to include some other institutions and some mosques and some educational charities, for instance, to pay zakah for them. This is where the discussion is about.
Okay. So I guess is that, as you're saying, it's that fi sabilillah part, which is obviously quite a wide spectrum of different possibilities for various organisations. Yeah, and especially, I mean, I guess especially with the time that we're in, with the lockdown, you know, a lot of mosques and institutes are in need of support, financial and otherwise. Because obviously they don't have the regular prayers or the Friday prayers where they usually do collections for the masjid, I guess. So it's a difficult time for many institutes and mosques at the moment. May Allah make it easy for them. In terms of, as I said, you touched on the nisab or the threshold for gold and silver. Say someone has amount of gold that meets the threshold and the silver that meets the threshold, but they're not able to pay the zakat. They can't afford to pay the zakat for whatever reason. Do they have to sell the gold, or do they have to? What do they do in that situation?
The concept, let me tell you, the concept behind the zakat is about to make the money rotate in the community, not to be kept in savings and sitting doing nothing. So this is why the inflation comes into place. Sure. When you have money sitting doing nothing. Yes? So we need to circulate the money and to create this financial circulation in the community. So I pay, you receive, you pay, he receives, and so on and so forth. So we have this money circulation. It creates businesses, it creates jobs, it creates needs, it creates demands, and so on. But when we hold the money, when we keep the money, then I cannot pay because I don't have money. And you cannot work because you didn't receive money. Then we have stagnation in the market, and then we have a problem, as the thing is now. The businesses are just going bust. And big names are going bust because there's no customers, there's no demand on their services, on their products, and so on. So the concept here is about getting things into circulation and creating this circulation which will bring healthy community and financial circulation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do that. Yes, so 2.5%, although it's not in any shape or form equivalent to tax. Yes, very minimal, but this minimal amount makes us think, okay, my money theoretically is minus 2.5%. Although Allah will increase it in barakah, increase it in different ways, but it helps us to go, okay, think about a different resource and a different support for the money to grow, because zakah as well is about growth. One of the meanings of zakah is an-nama. An-nama in Arabic is about growth. Zakah az-zar'u idha nama, we say in Arabic. So the plant is zakat, it means it's growing. So any money which has the ability to grow, yes, it is zakatable. If you were to keep it and do nothing with it, you will be not punished, but you will be liable to pay the zakah, even if you are not working with that money.
Sure.
So it makes you think, okay, I don't want to lose 2.5%. I have to invest it in something. That's it. This is what we want you to do. Invest it and create opportunities.
Sure. So in that situation, they would still be obliged to pay the zakat, obviously, because they meet the threshold for the gold.
It will be like a debt.
Yeah. Okay.
They can pay it whenever they can.
Okay.
Shall they sell the gold to pay the zakah? Depends.
Okay.
If it's sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
If it's a big loss, if they want to sell it now, the market is not good, then Islam is not about incurring loss to pay your zakah.
Sure.
You can pay it later when the market is better, when things are picking up, and these kind of things. It's not immediate if you don't have the means to pay it. It's a debt you pay when you can.
Okay. The next question I have here is regards to someone who has debt. Now, if someone has debt to pay and they have the means of paying the debt rather than the zakat, should they pay the debt first before the zakat, or should the zakat be paid before the debt?
We deduct loan before the zakah, of course. Okay. We do the calculation before we pay the zakah. Zakah is the surplus after you do all the calculations, liabilities and receivables and assets. You put all these things together, and you deduct every single liability you have. Yes? Sure. And then if you have surplus, you pay. If you don't have, then you don't pay.
And if we look at that in terms of in light of people who have mortgages, now that's a debt technically as well. What should one do in that situation? Because it's a long-term debt which you have an agreement with the bank that you're going to pay over a period of time. So does that mean they won't be paying zakat, or do they still have to pay zakat?
It depends where he's coming from. If he's sincere, he will say, of course, it is my obligation to pay zakat. So the scholars discuss this issue as well in details. Conclusion, among different opinions, he can deduct 1 year from his mortgage. Okay. Not more than that. Only 1 year. So you say this year is about £12,000, for instance. Every month I have to pay £1,000 and I deduct £12,000. And that's it. You deduct £12,000, which is on a monthly basis you pay them. Yeah. So you deduct that from your before you pay the zakah.
Yeah. Okay. And otherwise, if the person is happy not to include his zakat, not to include his mortgage and pay zakat, that's fine too.
Albeit, of course, it's extra reward, definitely. Okay. Definitely.
And something similar in some ways as well. The next question is regards to someone who is saving up for Hajj. Now they're keeping an amount separate or making a savings for Hajj, and it may take him a few years to get that saving for Hajj, because as you know, Hajj nowadays is well over the threshold, so to speak, in terms of the cost for Hajj. Is the zakat durable on that money, the saving, with the intention of Hajj, to use that for Hajj?
Yeah, again, we have different opinions here, but more likely, yes, it is.
Okay.
He pays for that zakah. Similarly, he is saving for the first payment for his house, or his flat, or for his marriage.
Okay, a dowry or a down payment or something like this, then obviously,
yeah, similarly.
Okay.
Unless you have signed a contract and this money is already occupied, you have not yet paid the money, but it's already occupied by the signature which you made, then it's not zakatable anymore. But it's still negotiation, we didn't agree yet on the price, and then the zakah date arrived.
Yeah.
Okay, you pay zakat and,
You pay zakat.
and be sure. I know it's a very weird feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
Shall I pay this, and it will take some money from me, and I already saved this money for a long time. Be sure Allah Azza wa Jal will replace you much more than what you've paid.
Absolutely.
For sure. But if you have this hesitation in you, yes, then you are not relying on Allah Azza wa Jal.
Sure.
Yes. So don't play tricks.
Yeah.
Don't. Be straightforward with Allah Azza wa Jal, and He will increase your rizq beyond your imagination.
Sure.
Don't listen to the whispers of the shaitan.
Yeah.
He will always try to ruin your intention and your good deed.
For sure. And I guess that's one of the virtues of Hajj, where or zakah, of that thing where Allah will give you back so many folds again, inshallah, in terms of your savings. And again, is zakat payable? I mean, pension funds is a big thing, obviously, and ISAs and things as well, where people, from their monthly salary, weekly salary, goes into a pot. So you have state pensions, obviously, then you have private pensions as well. Regardless of whatever type of pension is there zakat durable on the pension?
Pension is more complicated because you have different types of pension.
Okay.
So you need to know which type of pension you have, and accordingly you see if it's zakatable or not.
Okay.
And depends which category you are. Yes. And you need to know, can I have control over my money, or I don't have control over my money? Can I withdraw some money, or I can't withdraw any money? Because it depends on which category and which pension you have. Sure. But nevertheless, we have some discussion, and one of my friends, Mufti Butt, Zubair, but he has written a lengthy paper on the different categories of pension, and people can read and benefit from that, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. And the next question is I've lent money to someone. Am I due to pay zakat on that money that I've lent that's no longer with me, but it is his money, it is his wealth, sorry?
Let me say something first. The reward for charity is multiplied by 10.
Sure.
But the reward for giving someone a loan is multiplied by 17. More.
Okay.
This is to encourage people to look after each other.
Sure.
But to be honest with you, the common practice, I can tell you from experience, a common practice, when you lend somebody some money, you suffer when you want your money back. You suffer. Very, very, very rare to have ease when you get your money back.
Sure.
This is discouraging people to help each other. So we need to be honest and repay the money. He already helped you when you are in difficulty.
Sure.
So don't put him under difficulty for as a reward from you. You should be nice and kind because he relieved you from financial difficulty.
Sure.
So do we pay zakah for the money which we have lent for somebody? And fuqaha distinguish between three different levels.
Okay.
You are certain that you will get your money back. You are certain that you won't get your money back, which is more likely the case, and probably more than 80% of these loans, or it's a medium certainty. So you pay zakah for the certain one. You don't pay zakat definitely for the uncertain one.
Certain one, yeah.
The medium, when you receive it, you pay zakat.
Okay.
Okay?
So you pay zakat once you've received it on that one, yeah. Okay. Okay. Another question here is, do I pay zakat on the wealth belonging to my children?
It's a debatable topic between the majority of the scholars and the Hanafi on one side.
Okay.
The Hanafi says no.
Okay.
Because the children are not adult.
Not adult.
So this is not, and this is ibadah. And they are not yet accountable for the ibadah. As the salah is not incumbent on them yet.
Yeah.
Yes? There's the same thing regarding the salah, the zakah, and hajj, and so on. But definitely we encourage them to do salah, we teach them to do salah, but nevertheless it's not obligatory on them.
Sure.
Yes? Zakah is on the same category, the Hanafi said. The Jumhur, or the majority of the scholars, the rest of the schools, the Maliki and the Shafi and the Hanbali, they said no. They have to pay the zakah, and they have their evidences from this side, the evidences from that side. So do they pay zakah for their savings, the children's savings, and shares from inheritance and so on? Two different views.
Okay, but the Hanafi say no, but otherwise the majority do say.
Yeah, I go with the majority.
Okay, khair inshallah. Yeah. Most of us are Hanafi, so I think khair inshallah.
If he's a Hanafi, then that's fine. He can follow the Hanafi.
Khair inshallah.
To be honest with you, it's more into more reward and going with the majority. Sometimes it's more safer.
Yeah. For sure, absolutely. It says here, my wealth decreased below the nisab for a few months over the year. Do I still pay zakat?
Look, we cannot monitor every single month, every single day, and this is not helpful. And the scholar said, you look at the beginning of the year, the end of the year.
Okay.
Above the threshold, done. In between, you have some dips, you have some
fluctuation.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Unless in one occasion, if it went below zero, then done. You don't have any more threshold.
Okay.
Yeah? But if it didn't hit zero, it's still fluctuating, but it's not nisab, it's less than the nisab.
Yeah.
That's fine, it doesn't matter. As long as it's the beginning above the threshold, the end above the threshold, that's fine, you pay zakah for that.
Okay.
And to add to this, before the date for zakah arrived, 10 days before the zakah due on you, you received a lump sum, alhamdulillah, we should share it, from a relative who passed away and left you a will, for instance.
Yeah.
Big money. Yes? 200,000 pounds, for instance.
MashaAllah.
What shall I do with that? You need to do something about it. Yeah. So what shall I do with this? It's all inclusive. You put all of this together, it is zakatable.
Okay.
You include it with your money because the year is not yet finished. So you put everything before the end of the year in your zakat pot. So the 200 are in that pot. So you pay the zakat on the 200.
Because you're looking...
With the rest.
Yeah, okay. As you said, you're looking from the last year to the last year's date to this year's date. So whatever happens in between that, you're payable to zakat, regardless up or down. Yeah, okay. Khair, inshallah. With the value of gold, the next question is, with the value of gold fluctuating, how should you work out zakat then? I mean, does it have to be very precise, or can you just do a ballpark figure to say roughly it's about this amount or whatever it is?
It's very easy. When you want to pay your zakat, check online.
Okay.
How much is the gram, 24 a carat a gram, how much it worth?
Yeah.
It's easy. Online, you check it, and accordingly you decide, okay, the threshold is da-da-da-da.
Okay.
It's
So the
it's not that big deal.
So that would be on the date the day that you're paying the zakat. Just check what the rate is on that date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily you pay the zakat physically.
Yeah.
It's the date where you isolate your zakat from your account.
Yeah.
You say, okay, today I will isolate my zakat from my account.
Yeah.
Although I did not yet pay the zakat,
Okay.
well, it's already been separated from the account, even virtually, not necessarily physically. Virtually, you say, okay, it's 300 pounds, it's 1,000 pounds, whatever. You isolate them, and that's it. You calculate it, you check online, you see, okay, it's this today. It's running like this today. Then accordingly, you pay your zakat in accordance to that very price.
That's fine. And in terms of people who have missed zakat from previous years, can someone pay? Is it recommended to pay them back? Is it a must to pay those amounts back of zakat that they've missed in previous years, not knowing or not remembering what the exact value would have been then, but however they knew or they learnt now that they were dueable for zakat?
You do a guesstimation.
Do an estimation.
A guesstimation.
This. Okay.
Because you guess and you estimate, so you do guesstimation. You do the two together.
Okay.
Yes, because unless you know precisely how much you have, then you pay the exact amount.
Okay.
And as well, you can do the opposite. You can pay in advance for years to come.
Yeah.
You can pay the zakat for next year and next year, as it happened with Al-Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala, and we paid 3 years in advance.
SubhanAllah. Okay, that's an interesting one. Sheikh Haitham, we have to leave it there. Jazakallah khair for your time. Time has got the better of us. I really do appreciate your time. I know you're very busy with classes online and things as well, so please remember us in your du'as in the remaining days of this blessed month. Today's topic was on zakat, and alhamdulillah we had there Sheikh Haitham Tamim from London with us from the Utrud Foundation. Inshallah I will be back tomorrow. Our topic is on tazkiyah and spirituality in Islam, and my guest is Sheikh Hassan Rabbani, inshallah. So again, I'll be back with you tomorrow from 5 p.m. onwards here on Ramadan TV Scotland. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.